And hello and welcome everybody to this beautiful Interdimensional episode. We are broadcasting from under the veil of silence that has fallen over every single WTC team because it is definitely the season. Today we don't have like a main topic. I think what we are planning to do is talk about some of the past tournaments that we've been to, what we thought about them, what we thought about the meta that is basically leaving us right now. Give our opinions about the missions, some of the new books. Of course, we don't have the full picture yet. Basically, chill out and answer your questions if you have them. So, and of course, Typhus, because he's Typhus, will be joining us later because he must always be late, as we know. But hey, hopefully he will show up, and maybe not. Like his internet won't die in the middle of the episode this time, as a bonus. So Nathan, how have you been?
I've been good, buddy. Been good. Getting lots of games in, getting lots of time in. Helping Josh do some tournament prep and lots of things like that. So it's a new army for Josh for the new version of 40k coming out. So yeah, helping lots.
Which is, I assume, not Canoptic or the race anymore.
Nah, he's gonna play someone else for this season.
Holy shit! What a change of pace, though. It's been like half a year of just fucking smashing every single tournament with Necrons.
Yeah. It seems like a really long time, but actually the book only came out in January, so it's not actually as long.
Crazy.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's everyone's been like, "Oh, this is the biggest problem the game's faced in a while." I'm like, it's only been out 6 months.
Legitimately, though, it's been a while, but at the same time, we've had so much worse than a Canoptic Court.
Oh yeah,
in the past years. Like Canoptic Court, I think
all of night.
Necrons exactly. Necrons in general have been pretty good as the villain of the meta, I think.
Yeah.
So you have won the ITD that we've talked about previously. Good job. Finally extinguished.
Yes. Yeah, that does seem to be the a bit of a theme going on at the moment. It seems to be somehow Ignite and England avoid each other throughout the. Oh,
there he is. There's the boy.
Yeah, England and Ignite seem to somehow avoid each other until round 6. Don't know how that keeps happening.
Which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, it was also a bit of a weird one this year where, like, through no fault of their own, Ignite paired down. So we had a proper draw bracket this time, rather than it being 50-50 is the only way you can draw. Now it was 46 to 54 was a draw.
So a big draw bracket, basically.
Yeah, for five.
Especially for 5 months.
Yeah,
I think that's in line for what Alpine had also, right? I think it is 56. Yeah, it's a lot though.
Yeah, so this one was slightly different because it was 55 for a win. So it was like the 2 points slightly in. But yeah, so due to that, they paired down a couple of times, which meant we ended up playing a lot of different teams. But yeah, once again, we drew them in the final. A couple of our first 2 results coming into that final round were like losses. So we thought, okay, maybe Ignite's going away with it again. But then some 2 big results from Josh and Chris meant that we actually won that round 56 to 44. So
nice.
I win by 2 points, yeah. So
nice.
Yeah, it was really
finally
good. Yeah.
If you guys all of you would like to go into detail about what happened at the ATT, both Fireside and the Team England podcast have good episodes about those games, which I have listened to, and they are very insightful. Typhus, how have you been?
Tired.
We actually have been to a tournament together, and we've managed to win that tournament.
And to keep a track of us being the worst performers, me and Pumba were bottom 2 performers within our team again.
I think that is correct. Although you did have 69 points.
Yep.
Which is very nice. And I think I clocked in like 66 or something.
For the record, I was also the lowest scorer on my team.
Oh yeah. As we can see, we're actually the professionals, right?
Tune in to Enter the Matrix with the 3 lowest scorer people in their teams.
Guys, this is how it works.
Like,
I'm the lowest scorer now in Poland, but when I go to US tournaments and play with those champs from Art of War, I actually score the highest.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Anthony.
Chiming in. We definitely are the pros. 100%.
Surely.
No scam. Come listen to our
Yeah. I also loved playing Canoptic Court for a change. It was so lovely.
That army. I mean, let's just get it out of the way. I hope it's going away. I cannot deal with any more race mode.
My God. Like, I felt in 2 of my games I've played, first of all, first game I was hungover as fuck. I would even wager I was drunk still at that point. So first game, I play into Vanguard Nits, go first as Canoptic Court, lose 2 squads of Rays to Vanguard Nits. Turn 1.
Can actually happen. But yeah.
And still win 16-4 because I captured his outpost turn 3 with third squad of Rays. I was like, what the hell just happened?
It's that easy, apparently.
And in 2 games, I felt like my opponent never had a decision point within the game. Like, this was like, I just positioned, he could never do anything, and then I just executed the plan. That was dumb. So yeah.
So we did win that. I think that also means either all of us or one of us has a golden ticket, but we actually are not even sure how this works anymore.
And we are not sure whether any one of us actually wants to go.
Yeah, or
we got a golden ticket for ITT, and I'm like, cool. I'm still not going.
That's basically our stance. Yeah. The last year from this exact same tournament, Lesh went for it, so he was the only points representative.
Nathan, hear me out. We go there, we drop round 1, and we just hang out.
So let's just go. Well, screw that then. Let's not go to Atlanta. Let's just go Vegas or something.
I was about to say Atlanta for that, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard mixed reports about it last time.
Or just go to Anthony's place, right? As Anthony's
so that's what I'm doing after the Champions Game.
We just won golden ticket into his shower, right? The best golden ticket you can get. Lovely.
Yeah. So that's the situation. The situation also is the meta is getting fucked. The meta is getting so fucked I cannot even. The current stance of Team Poland is we actually are waiting for everything to come out because I am expecting the 2 weeks. There will be, with our expectations, 2 weeks between the release of everything and the points and the data state.
Or maybe 3 weeks, something like that.
And Pyra, there will be 2 weeks between those 2 things.
Oh, yeah.
Those 2 weeks.
I'm at the same time losing my mind with whoever thought about that Sisters Codex.
Oh, yeah. Typhus, since we do have you, please give us your thoughts about the Sisters Codex as concisely and like.
So it's been 4 days essentially for me. 4 days essentially of thinking about what is the best in that codex, and every single day, my thoughts landed on a different detachment being the best. There are 4 detachments, and well, I've played only 1 game so far, but because I had to play Canoptic Court, mind you. But I find like there's a lot of stuff that's just dumb. But I find there's, for a person who wasn't playing Sisters for a very long time, you wouldn't notice so many like slight side grades also that mean that different units that I was using for a very long time before just do not apply in the same way. For example, Arca flags now are slightly different because they are, into most profiles, slightly less durable and also losing twinlings, and then it means you cannot use them as effectively as a frontline when I was playing them for a long time like that. Castigators are better buffers with the additional AP, but they lost the ability of just dealing with a flank by themselves because they lost the rerolls, etc. It means their damage output is way less reliable and all of that. So
what you're saying is that Codex is bad and you hate it.
no, absolutely not. What I'm saying is
That was
that
a good trailer.
weirdly enough, most of my experience with the faction, I don't think will translate directly. Because the way I've based my plays within the faction wouldn't necessarily apply to how key units that I was running changed. Whereas still it only applies to like 600 points or 700 points of my list, and still the army is bonkers. I would say I'm quite happy with the changes because, first of all, I think like all 4 detachments are viable, which you cannot say about most of the armies. And the rules are written in a way that if you're playing a detachment, you actually have rules for nearly everything, not like the mega knobs or whatever that are, say, knobs. And sorry, boys. But I'm just happy that if they point hike, and I just got weird, please point hike. I'm playing 1,800 points until they point hike because that army would not stand at 2,000. I just am happy that if it gets point hikes, we'll be playing more of a elite deal damage army rather than just trash spam the board and refuse to die army because you have too much shit. I just find less units on the board will be more rewarding to play rather than having how I felt 20 units on the board and opponent kills 5 in one turn, but I still have 15, right?
That's fair. What is your favorite busted mechanic of that codex? Or busted anything that codex?
Okay, so first of all, what gets me the hardest is 29 plus d6. Obviously.
29 plus d6 is definitely a hashtag that we can use. That is very valid.
Which, by the way, isn't 29 plus d6, it's 28 plus d6, because if you substitute a roll of 6 on an advance, you cannot get plus 1.
You cannot gain the plus 1.
So it's 28. Sorry. At least for now. Maybe they FAQ.
So just as an explainer, because we absolutely have not explained what the fuck we were talking about. That's the threat range of Repent out of a Rhino, right?
Yep.
With all the fucking buffs and the Triumph and the Miracle.
Triumph plus 3 movement vow, 6 to advance, 6 to charge.
Yeah. A good threat range to have, I guess.
But I think the most busted mechanic for now, 28 plus d6. 28 plus d6. Okay, so
you have to roll a die to get that.
New sweeping engagement. You're 20 inches away from each other, right? With this unit, you're 8 inches deep in their deployment zone.
I think it's closer.
I've played it yesterday. It was, I think, 20 inches between us. Anyway,
okay, that's fair.
You're 8 inches into their deployment zone if you want turn 1, which is kind of weird. But I think
just screen. What the fuck do you mean?
Yeah, obviously.
It's not like Sisters have any out of line of sight shooting, so it's fine.
Oh no, but I think the most busted mechanic is actually now that you have Triumph giving you out to 6. That one is so impactful.
Quite interesting, yes.
This is so impactful because usually my sister games I went all in turn 2 or turn 3. So with Triumph, you having made naturally 2 6s, and then probably you could fish for like third 6 with units dying. You just end up with 3 6s for turn 2, where you just go in, which you can spend on advances to get angles or charge rolls for multiple units. And I do not mean penitent detachment, I mean kind of any detachment, because the advance and shoot detachment suddenly it also means you have insane range. And that combined with +2 to move from Triumph means your reach became so much higher compared to what was previous. And I think this is that sometimes when playing different deployments, you didn't really have a way to reinforce a flank unless you were playing heavy on reserves. That's why I was playing with 10-man Arcos, usually from reserves, to reinforce a flank that was falling. And that was my only play to actually reinforce that plan, usually. But now when you suddenly get like +3 to movement for certain units, and with the more 6s that you just get throughout the game, I feel like that is a massive change. And also the fact that you're now having infiltrators, it also impacts the army quite a bit because you didn't have them previously. So yeah, I think the boost to mobility. What did I just use English sentence, or what sentence was that? Buff, not bust. Yes, English, hard language. So buff to mobility feels like the biggest change, at least to me, having my experience with the faction.
That's fair. Very comprehensive.
Don't
My
get used to
favorite,
that.
my favorite is actually the pre-shooting blood surge. I think that's chef's kiss. That's Eldar right there. that is the difference between the
I'm not
basilisk
playing
or any other thing
that
and
way
this night
ever,
spinner.
by the way. That's getting FAQ. Like, that's just no. I refuse.
Well. Hey, you cannot miracle dice the blaster, so I think it's fine. Sisters are probably going to be pretty good. Let's say that.
Yeah,
I
Nathan.
think they.
What about you?
What, like, general opinions of the codex?
Yeah, they are definitely. They're going to probably move away from the grinding 8 to 12 type list to I have units that can affect the game. Like, it's a bit like, because I've been playing Death Guard and Serve You Pumba, some lists have what I like to call fuck you units, and Sisters now have fuck you units. Whereas before, you have certain armies where it's like, okay, well, not any one of my units can kill one of your units. I have to line up 4, I have to move things, I have to plan ahead to be like, okay, well, if he does this, I can react with these units to then drag something down. Where some lists have fuck you units who obviously just go, that's just dead. One thing, one shots, one thing, one, like Ironstorm summons those tanks just one shot certain things. My dog.
Is that Josh?
No, that's my dog Ghost, who's having a bit of a easy.
Seemed like Josh.
Oh, that's
Anyway.
so sad.
He's crying.
Suffering sacrifice was mentioned. I think that's also a good one.
No, that one is
What?
FAQ as well. Like, that's not
Why?
sticking the way it is.
It's interesting to me because there is no good reason, I think, for it to change. Man, that codex is kind of crazy. After reading every single data sheet and every single stratagem I'm looking at.
I think what I like the most about it for now is, for WTC alone, is that you have 4 detachments that I would consider viable depending on the team comp and what you need for the army to actually do for your team. So I would expect with the changes to people bring completely different units and different detachments. So this is something that I'm looking forward to, because I do think that this army can be built as a defender or very hard pressing attacker at the same time, depending what you need. So
that's legit. That definitely opened the possibilities for the Sisters build, because it was stale, right? It legitimately.
Oh yeah,
it was
60 games
Valgans
in,
or no Valgans. Oh, such a good boy.
Oh no.
Okay. Now, difficult question coming up. Does any one of you know what the fuck is happening with GSC? This is the ADMEC of this release.
I think the British people got fed up with miners finally. And after a few tries, they finally reined them in.
So I have read the codex. I have compared the sheets. I've listened to some interviews. I've talked to our players. I've talked to Myson. I've talked to Danny. And the general opinion I'm hearing is, boy, the data sheets got fucked. And like all the power that every single one of the GSC datasheets have been transferred to give Val more abilities and the Triumph, the Auto 6, and every single thing he needs to have a better ability. So that came from the GSC codex, I think.
Emperor
It is
bless
just
you. I thank you for your service.
the internal balance between the two codexes definitely is kind of working because the power has just been transferred between those. I'm wondering what points that army needs to be viable. But I am shit scared. I'm saying that legit right now. I am completely fucking terrified of the perspective that the Australians are going to bring some bullshit fucking GSC list. And I'm like, oh my god, we cannot fucking let this happen again, guys. There must be something in this codex, and we need to figure that shit out before it happens. Because because holy, I am not about to fucking be smashed by 30 bikes again. How much
Which
are
might
aberrants
actually be the play. In the
I
codex, they
is
are
what I'm saying.
300.
In the codex, they are basically 30 per model, right? The aberrants,
Yeah.
which is let me
No.
get exactly the same as the Meganop. Yes, thank you. Fuck. Oof.
Isn't it also like the same as Wraith? No, Wraiths are more.
You have fucking played the Canoptic Core this week.
I don't know. I felt like I had 500 points too much, okay?
You're about to find out. Okay, so that's our opinion on the new codexes. We are not GSC experts, unfortunately.
Okay, so we have 40 teams attending WTC this year.
How many are going?
How many of those will not take sisters? 4?
That's a good one. Have sisters become the Necrons of the meta potentially?
So I would expect probably like at least 75% of the teams will take them. You still have to have a good sisters player, I think.
Yeah.
They are still somewhat handicapped with certain toughness issues.
They die.
Yeah. So you still have to trade with them correctly, etc., etc. So I think a lot of teams will take them. Again, it's a bit like sisters. You need a sisters player.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm willing to go 60% of the teams. I think if you, especially from the lower tier teams, I think some of them will not just jump on the train and like without the player, without the models or whatever it might be. I think it might not be worth it for people to just fucking go all in on that army and just prepare for it instead. I think that's absolutely viable.
I still feel like the difference.
How many are going to? What percentage are going to bring GSC? Is my question.
Hopefully none. I think. What at the face value? I am
scarred in my mind. I have GSC trauma.
Okay, at the face value, what role would you see for that codex after just seeing it? Because I don't really see it.
The fact is, they have lost a lot of stupid bullshit that they had in the index attachment. Yeah. I think the army still had a lot of play. We actually saw it played by one of the important coaches, Max, at the event that we went to, and he did very well.
He won against Leshu. So.
Yeah, he won against Leshu. He almost, I think his only loss was a 9-11 against Canoptic Court or something. So the army was good. Yeah. Like legitimately, I think people were sleeping on how good GSC were, but they are worse, which is funny to say after the UK. That's the worst feeling, by the way. I think Custodes players, CSC players, if you get worse after getting a codex, that fucking sucks. Like legitimately, that's a sad time.
I don't know what will be the niche for it because obviously I have more experience with sisters, so I could just looking at the codex see what kinds of builds you could get not having my experience previously. Like I could just translate the new points.
I think
Or
it's very
new
points
rules.
dependent for GSC as
Yeah.
well.
That's what
I
I'm.
think if they have enough stuff, like there's that point, of course, where if you have enough stuff that it becomes a fucking nightmare to score against that army remotely. You can just first defend it and you can bring me.
That's what I'm scared that we might be another case of rats with guns, rats with meltas. Like you get down to such points that you have resurrecting 120 points acolytes or whatever that is, neophytes, and suddenly there's just too much. What's your take on this, Nathan?
Yeah, so it's because they've still vaguely kept the same army ability. It's impossible to point them where, if it comes back, it's way too cheap, but you therefore have to pay for it in the first place that it might come back. So if it doesn't come back, then it's too expensive. It's a bit like the Angron argument. He is decent, but is he too expensive? But when he comes back, Angron's dirt cheap. So it's... I would have liked to have not seen that army ability again, and hopefully been something a bit more dynamic. But yeah, it's one of those. They have kept it, so it's a difficult decision of how to point them. Because yeah, like you say, you run the risk of, do you just spam the table and it's the most dumb MSU army around? Like, is it going to push the 30 unit type limit? Because we've already seen issues with Sisters and Eldar having over 20. So, I don't know. Depends how they point them.
I actually agree with Ines. I think on yesterday's show, he mentioned that he expects the mechanic of GSC to change within this edition, before this edition changes. And I think that's going to happen. I think it's incredibly difficult, in my opinion, to balance that mechanic around. Like, it's either too expensive or doesn't do like anything. And like, if you get it too cheap, it's just the most annoying shit on the planet, right?
Yeah.
And you're playing the most obnoxious type of horde with weird tricks and stuff, and actual damage, or like compared to, I don't know, unending sword, which is weird. I think a change of mechanic would actually serve GSC very well. They should get the hypercrypt, by the way. Then I would think, why aren't they the hypercrypt? Right? It's basically their mechanic.
If that was an army rule, I think that would be
fitting,
right?
Yeah, would be better. Yeah.
All right, I want to talk to you. That's basically our summary of the codexes. We don't know shit about GSC, unfortunately. We basically pretend to know shit about GSC at this point. But you've got Typhus's opinion on Sisters, and I think we all agree they are kind of busted. Busted is the word, unfortunately. I would like to share with you something that we've seen for a while now, but that's the seeding for this year's WTC. And my question to you is, what's the death group? What is the group that will going to see the most action? What is everybody afraid to be in?
I think this year USA gets Belgium.
I think that it's their turn, right? I'm hoping. The tall man needs blood. And this year, I'm fucking hoping it's the USA's blood. Because the scariest team in Pod 2 is definitely Belgium. I'm sorry, Canada. It is just a fact.
No, Canada. Do they even play 40k or checkers?
Apparently they do. I learned that when they accounted to more than half of WCW. Because apparently you open a pack of chips in Canada and you get a golden ticket. Well, so I think that's the story.
Also, from Group 2, genuinely don't sleep on Ireland now.
Ireland is good. Yep,
they went to home nations, and like Belgium beat England, but Ireland beat Belgium. So,
which is, of course, what fucking
How
happened.
Belgium does.
Because of course that's what happened.
Which
Because
meant
it's
England
fucking
won on
Belgium,
comeback
brother.
because
Belgium
bullshit.
will drop out Poland. They will fucking draw Australia. They will fucking crash France or whatever. They will shit on England. They will drag USA skulls, and they will lose to fucking Czechia.
Yeah.
It's just what they do every fucking time. It's incredible. This team is the wild card.
I
of
really
the
love
fucking
this
world.
narrative, by the way, that it happened.
They
40
are
years
the
in a row.
Goliath.
So we would
The
call them
David, sorry.
in football terms, we call them like a Robin Hood team. So they take points from the rich and give them to the poor. How we look at it. Yeah.
Perfect. Actually, perfect. summary.
Okay, instead of a dev group, I think the more interesting thing is out of all the new teams here, which were placed in the group 4, which one would be a sleeper pick? Because usually, like last year, we had New Zealand overperforming.
Yeah, fucking
At least,
third in group 2. What the hell, brother?
even with David playing shit army, they carried
Exactly. They
his
managed
weight.
to do that with Deathwatch, remember?
Yeah, that
That's
one
an
was
achievement.
slightly weird because they didn't negative the score for not turning up this first year. So because they came like 15th, they got into Group 2. Whereas some
Yeah.
teams that, so it was a little bit like there were teams that finished ahead of them that are in like Group 3.
Yeah, I get
because they had a
get
bad
that.
first. So, but yes, New Zealand will be a good team.
Yeah, I'm just curious which from the group 4 will be this case this year.
I am very excited to see China. I am very excited
Yeah.
to see the Asian teams in general. I'm gonna be
Although
honest.
I've heard they are Americans in disguise, but
I mean, it's new teams have the tendency to get a lot of mercs, which is fine. It's what they do to fill out the spots, and it gets them their first WTC in. The WTC possibly gives them more credibility and like viewership or whatever, and like entices the wider population to go into tournaments. So I think that's completely valid to fill our team.
Don't say that because Manny's always threatening to start Team India.
I'm so fucking hoping. Like that, they've got a lot of good players already. That was also basically mean England is fucking falling off the cliff.
Oh yeah, because if Vic goes as well,
Vic and Manny just fucking.
Nick Nanavati maybe joins them.
Exactly. Just fucking see you guys later. And then Group 1 first year Team India. Let's go. I would fucking love that. Holy shit. In reality, I am not super expecting any of the Asian teams to do very well. I will be pleasantly surprised to see them do well. But I think it must, like, the expectations of you going across the fucking continents for an incredible amount of money to play 40K, I think is like admirable. And I think a lot of, even, let's be fucking honest, if me or I don't know from when the WTC actually started, if it will be me and Ghetto and some of the other people who were students at the time, especially who are pretty good at 40K, we would probably not go, right? If it was held in China or in Singapore or in Asia in general, right? So I think the expectation for them to do super well is a little bit lower just because of that. But yeah, I think that's which also makes me even more impressed with New Zealand's performance last year, because those motherfuckers just jumped through many hoops to get to that event. China is my pick from Group 4 for someone to watch for. Especially we get the tiniest little bit of insight into the Chinese team through David. I think that he's in our Discord. We actually chat a little bit about Discord from time to time, and he just did an episode with Sam Lemon on the wide world of Warhammer. So go listen to that if you want to learn more about the Chinese scene. I do recommend.
I just want to say that we were happy with the European and American dominance in terms of WTC for years, but boys, we are going to get school fucked in like 3 years because South Korea is here.
South
And when they
Korea
get-
and China are officially joining 40k events, and yes,
And boys, it was a nice ride.
The Western dominance is coming to an end. We've been there with so many things.
Yep.
Those motherfuckers get to work, and then it's over, brothers.
Yeah, we tried.
Now you see G2
We had a
against
good run.
one
We had a
in
good
League
run.
of Legends, hoping that you can get points. And now in 2 years, Poland will be playing South Korea, and you will be cheering because someone got less than 160.
It's going to happen. We called it first, by the way. All right. So if you don't want to, I will do you a nightmare group. I think it's actually the US goes with the Belgium. They hold hands. They absolutely murder fuck each other. I think from the third group, I would like to see Norway join them. Or South Africa. We played South Africa last year, and they were so much better than we expected the first time.
I mean, we even played the scrim, and we barely won. So
we
like,
barely
it's really
won, brother. It is
And
by a
we-
sliver.
and we played with our A team, mind you.
Yep.
So
I think they are incredibly well prepared. I think they were good
Yep.
the last time, and I think they are going to perform incredibly well. I would be surprised not to see them go up in the rankings in general.
like,
And then from the last group, I think South Korea joins them. Maybe China. But that group is just the wild card group.
yeah,
The
I have no clue.
The seed 4 is just the wild card because we have not seen most of those teams perform. But
Yeah, so I
goddamn,
guess the
please,
question is like,
please let Belgium be in the same pot as the US. Please, God.
it's which of Group 4 do we think will not be in Group 4 next year? As in, which one will progress to a higher group? Hopefully, is like a South Korea. Like I'm rooting for Thailand because I have an affinity with Thailand. So those are my pick.
Fair.
I
don't
don't
know.
My pick is still China.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking China. I mean,
There's
I'm
one
sorry.
point- There's 1.6 billion of them. Some of them are pretty good. Probably.
Exactly. They are bound
Laws
to
of
catch up
averages.
with the team. Like, look, it's in the numbers. We are not long for this fucking WTC thing. Okay, that was that talk. And now, let's talk a little bit about the new missions. Typhus, have you actually read the new missions?
Yes.
What? I am very surprised right now.
Because
That is
on the
holy.
on the new Steam thingy for TTS, they are actually like sorted out outside. So I read the fixed ones, and then
Nice.
when I was drawing new tacticals, I was also reading them. And as we got the like random mission that you cycle 2 cards, I cycled through 13 over the course of the game, and most of them were tactical, not fixed. So I think at this point I might get like still one surprise in that deck. So almost there.
Right. I have one shout out about the new mission pack. Overall thoughts, Typhus?
I like it.
I like it.
I
a lot.
like how it feels that we will have significantly less secondary points throughout the game.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I think I like the fact that you need to. Okay, my hot take is you are incredibly incentivized to bring MSU, in a sense, like a lot of trash. Trash was always good. Trash is incredible right now. Trash is the way of life. Trash will score you points. You will need to score a lot more cards that will give you a little bit less points. But but also actions now are way more difficult, and the rhino that you put to score your homers that gets tagged is no longer achieving your goals. So you need proper units to do your missions, which is a huge change for any army that doesn't have enough points to bring.
That's why I said I think we'll score less.
I think you need to kind of adjust for it. You either will. I think that cards, for example, are way easier to score, at least most of them. Legitimately, I think most of them are way easier to achieve than they have previously been, if you have units. Coming to mind, armies that will, I believe, struggle with that. From the top of my head, I think T-Sons hate this shit right now.
Oh yeah,
because they've got screen, they've got two to maybe 3 units of screen, a rhino, and then things that need to do stuff. And those things are battle line, which is good with the pack, but they need to be doing damage, not necessarily like in scoring you whatever mission in your corner or containment or whatever it's called on the edge of the board. So I think armies such as this will struggle with the new missions. Also, Crab Rave, happy music, supply drop is gone. Fuck
I
yes,
don't know. I
Albert.
liked it.
Fuck off, bro. Nobody.
I've played it 5 times and got the right objective 5 times. Okay, like, give me a break.
I have never gotten the objective
Skill issue.
near my
Skill
deployment
issue.
zone. Never. Not
Skill
a
issue.
single fucking time. I hate that mission with a passion. So the new missions in general I like. The new deployments I despise.
Yeah,
I
am not a fan of.
I am not a fan of new deployments. I think them being closer together with
16 inches away, as someone pointed in the chat. Hell yeah.
That's on this sweeping engagement, is 16 inches away from each other. Then you've got still the quarters, which is 12 in the closest point.
I wonder when we'll get to AOS level, when there's one mission that it's actually literal quarters where you can deploy in the middle in engagement range. Like, there's one mission like that in AOS.
I can imagine Anthony with his 8-bound behind every single wall in the middle of the board from right ahead, just having the biggest fucking boner in the world. Just thinking about this.
Yep.
I am not a fan of the deployments. The missions are fine. Some of the new deployments must be played at the WTC though, right? I think they basically must be played because there is no way we are going down the war. Down the war also being closer is fucked. It's so bad. I have not played a single Down the War missions since the beginning of the edition.
I played in AOS.
I hope that doesn't change.
We play it quite a lot at UKGT, so it's very turn. But then again, a lot of these deployments are going to come down to how do they design the mission combinations and how they design the terrain to go with it. Like, for example, yes, if the 16, where you're 16 inches apart, if you literally have a ruin on the corner of that 16 and they have a ruin on the corner of that 16, yeah, it's a fucking shit mission. But if you can't actually deploy there without basically being in the open, then it doesn't actually become that as big an issue.
Yes, but then there's things that basically nullify that, redeploys.
Scouts.
I don't know, scouts. You can position aggressively like a transport to think in the and like a ruin with near that to just disembark within it because you're still near the middle of the board, where you want to be. So the staging with the rhino might not be so important. I think there's many aspects to that, and
Yeah.
Like, it's still sketch to me. And he's gone, of course. He's gone.
As soon as it gets difficult,
It's been a whole 40 minutes with Typhus, this show. So good. Okay. The elephant in the room for me is the secret missions, right? And that's what everybody's talking about.
Yeah. Like, I imagine they probably won't affect singles.
Barely.
Because you're probably only ever taking them if your game's going against you. And even then, most of them are pretty difficult to do. There's a couple of them that are achievable if you build your list around them. The take 3 objectives at the end can come up if it's a game where you might be struggling, but it saves you. If you do manage to achieve it, it saves you having to then sacrifice units trying to hold primary, for example. But for teams, it will make a difference because if you can achieve them, it is 4 points off your total, which is kind of big.
I am,
Potentially 4 points.
as the captain that is supposed to get the matrices of everybody and like have solid data on what's coming. I am waking up 3 a.m. in cold sweats, thinking about someone going second and like sandbagging and then scoring whatever primary they have on the last turn, or especially what is the one mission, the primary scoring, which is basically non-capped and you can score like fucking 20 points something on the last turn.
Yeah.
I forget the name, but there's one that is uncapped and you score a lot of you can basically score 23, something like that, maybe around 20 points in a single turn of primary. I am having nightmares about the situation where someone goes second and in a bad matchup or in a good matchup for my team, for example, and the entire game it's about can you table them or like absolutely shove everything in their mouth so they, because if they get with some units till the end of the game and the game is about equal, they will fuck you for solid 40 points in the last turn.
Yeah.
At 40 points.
Like, it's probably not that bad because
it's an extreme example, of course.
Yeah,
right?
you're scoring. So that's if you've taken your foot off the pedal early to then go, if I can hold, if I can basically take all of them, yes, you can catch up like 25 points or something on the last turn, which is shitty. Is it 25? Something along those lines. But at that point, that's potentially quite difficult to achieve. So it's potentially bad, but I would be surprised if it actually becomes up as a major issue. But we are going to have... I think it's quite hard to escape mission packs that don't have a big advantage going second. Like, we still had it now where it is score 15 at the end, where you effectively got basically 25 points already at that mission. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest change we'll see is what events decide to use with. Obviously, Chilling Rain is just gone now, so every mission is going to
have gone from the rain into the fog, I believe.
That is potential.
I think the fog is a mainstay. I think fog is going to be used a lot. I am actually not the biggest fan of mission rules in general. Some of them were fine, but I mean the Leviathan pack mainly presented out of his missions that had Chilling Rain in them as a base, right? And it was boring in a sense, but also fine.
Yeah, it was boring, but I actually quite like that the new pack might actually encourage certain lists become more meta viable because they have, say, if their tournament pack leans into the battle line element of it.
Mm-hmm.
So actually you end up playing 3 or 4 missions that are actually you want to take battle line units. I would quite like to see that to maybe mix the meta up. Or a mix of events that some use it, some don't use it. So you have the variety of just changing your list.
I very much like the idea of events having their own missions and that they would impact your list building a lot more.
Yes, I would like that.
I enjoy that, and I think the pack allows you to do quite a thematic set of 5 missions. So I 100% agree that I would love to see some of that. For 7-round events such as WTC, we are currently waiting for the missions to basically be decided on.
Yeah.
No idea what we will be playing, but I'm hopeful. There's definitely a good variety of that. I am also absolutely terrified of hidden supplies right now, with both the new deployments potentially and the secret missions of Control 3 objectives.
Yeah, it's
in the middle.
There will have to be a decision of how many events actually use like 6 objectives, because it does become problematic in certain. You just have to work it out that you don't have the like, I can score shitloads of points on this one, or it becomes secret missions become a problem.
I think in general, though, my opinion on secret missions, although I am not a fan of them, but I think they are a skill that you need to learn now, especially in teams play. I sincerely believe that people who practice a lot with them will get to the point when there's playing a secret mission is like very obvious that what they are trying to achieve, and you have counterplay against that for the most part.
Yeah. You will.
It's going to be difficult at the start, though.
Yeah.
Extremely difficult at the start. But I think that's what actually can push you to be a better player, especially at the start, where you are very well versed of what your opponent is able to achieve from the secret mission pack. There are only 4, so it's quite easy to telegraph or imagine what they can do.
You know certain armies are just not going to be able to do certain ones, like getting battle lines in your opponent's deployment zone, unless you have things like gargoyles or a very aggressive army. Yeah, it's unlikely. And then that's working on the basis that your opponent took no battle line. It's like, well, they're probably going to take some. And if they know that might, it's that how good players will know, look, I need to avoid certain ones. Now, some of them are going to be more difficult, like Eldar going second and taking 3 objectives at the end of the game might be a genuine thing, because things like Eldar can go, you know what, for turn 3, 4, 5, or 3, 3, 4, and 5, because I'm going last. They might go, well, that's better for me to try and get those 20 points than me putting units out on primary and losing them for no reason, because I'm probably not going to hold them anyway. So do I just sack off trying to fight for primary and then just go and take 20 points at the end for 40? Eldar will probably still be very good at cards. 40 again, 10 for turning up. They get 90 points. Cool, I'm not losing.
Oh yeah, by the way, my favorite, the secret mission with the Warlord, that you need to control the enemies objective with Warlord.
Because Battle Shocks was so difficult already.
Magnus is just fucking creaming all over that mission. Like that boy is hiding so much and then moving 48 straight onto your home objective, and you need to fucking be ready for that shit, because that's just happening. The man is zooming, he will shoot you, but he will probably not charge you after triple moving in a turn or whatever. But holy shit.
Onto your home objective.
Also, somebody is going to lose to Angron Resurrecting randomly, and then nailing a
Rapid
9-inch
ingressing.
charge into the rapid ingressing, and then like either rapid ingressing or nailing a 9-inch charge into your home objective last turn, and then fuck you, 20 points. It is not pleasant, particularly, I believe.
But then again, you
And
had to
somehow
describe
I
that.
know it's going to happen to Anthony, because he is God's gift to fucking.
No, because Anthony's not gonna. At turn 3, he's not gonna go. I'm gonna give up all my primary points because his list is reasonably good at scoring primary.
Unless he play foreshadowing. Unless he plays against Leshu, then he will.
Oh, maybe.
Look, we've got the counter. We are ready. We are well prepared. Yeah. So, basic overall opinion of ours, I think the pack is very good. I think it's going to shake up things in a big way. It's not a small update. I think it's a huge update. I think we might be into almost playing like a different game territory. I think the battle line thingy, unless pushed explicitly by the tournament packet, is not going to be actually that huge. But you will need a lot more units in your army, a lot more trash, and trash was always good. Lone ops, trash, anything that actually does score you missions, because as we've discussed, just a single Rhino fucking doing it in combat and homers in combat every single turn, not going to cut it.
Yeah, I think the idea was it was kind of a little bit too common that you would get quite a lot of points from cards. So I think they've probably tried to deal with that in some way to make it. You actually have to work a lot harder to get your max points now, which is good. I like that.
That's absolutely fair. Okay. And with that, I think we are ready to actually move to the questions. I will do some plugs to the best of my ability because I have still not asked Ines for a point-by-point list of them. So, you have been watching Edge of the Matrix. We are part of the statcheck network that also has a lot of other shows. We've got the main show happening every Tuesday. We've got the Champions of 40K, with Steve Joel, which just released another episode. We've got Take All Commerce from the boys in the U.S. Pacific Northwest. Sorry, talking about their tournament experiences. We've got. I am missing something. The X1 that is on the hiatus currently. We've got a lot of sponsors. Some of them are Saltire Games, Red Dragon. All of the links to our sponsors you can find in the footnotes of the video. If you like what we do, come and join our Patreon. It is a great community of a lot of people. Some of them are WTC players, some of them are good at this game, and some of them are us. So you can always bother us or like ping Typhus to fix the internet, or bother Ines if the GSC is any good right now because nobody knows. We do encourage that, by the way. You have our blessing if you do that. And also, by joining our Patreon, you can ask us questions, not only for this show, but any other show is also taking questions. And this is what we will be moving on to in this part of the episode. We've got some. We don't have a lot. We've got actually 3 from Ines, which I'm very interested in hearing your opinion, Nathan, on them. I will post them in the YouTube chat so we have easier access, and I can show them on the screen right now. So the first one, how many differential is it going to be this to Unbroken Wall, which is the secret mission that scores you that we talked about, right? That scores you
score.
3.
That's the whole 3, is it?
Yeah, whole 3.
Yeah, like that's the one that if you look at them is somewhat vaguely achievable. But again, it's a very interesting chance that you would take these. Genuinely, it becomes a case of in some missions, holding your home objective and say your top left objective gets you 40 points, or worst case will get you 30, 35. So you have to decide turn 3 that you are basically going to abandon that and then hope you can just take 3 at the end, which if your opponent knows that that is kind of coming, like we discussed earlier, it only takes them to go, well, I'm just going to absolutely car park my top left, and then you just can't do it. So it is still a big risk. Like, it might even work in the opposite way, that differentials could get bigger because they failed to do it.
Yeah.
But as a Hail Mary, it's a shitload easier than the Gambits.
I think if you are going to second, you will always consider picking a secret missions.
Sure. Yeah.
I think they are complete ass if you are going first.
Yes. Yeah, which is it's almost now where we've got to the point where we try to fix going first as in 9th edition, where you went first and you just blew your opponent off the table, to now it becoming actually it's with how heavy the terrain is on quite a lot of maps that say we play on. Going second is just massively advantageous now, especially with the new secret missions.
Yeah, I think we have finally managed to fix go first win rates.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's most 90% of the game we would like to not go first right now. I think the role to win to infiltrate first has become the new go first.
Yeah, that does come up now.
And time after time. Yeah, but as I've discussed previously on the one more thing about the topic, I am, as someone who will be at the event watching all the scores, and like I am right now imagining like 3 people from my team with like after consulting with them how the game is going, they will be like, it's pretty good. And my opponent just picked the secret mission, and like 4 tables do that. And I'm like, holy Jesus Christ, take it away, please.
Yeah.
I am absolutely terrified of the concept that this is going to happen, like on multiple tables at once. And I'm like, what the fuck?
It, like you say, it might be a case of the round looks bad. 4 of your opponents take it, and then by some miracle, 3 of them get it off, and well, that's the difference of 20 points on each one, assuming that they were unlikely to score their primary. That's the difference between wins and draws. Definitely.
Yeah, or between basically anything. It's very scary. It's very scary from the.
Scary. I don't think it's going to be as bad, but it's definitely a much more viable option than Gambiting. Gambiting was like you had like half a percent chance.
It just didn't happen. It was not a thing.
It was pointless. Yeah.
Right next, which pool 2 teams do you think are most likely to win a pod? So let me bring them up again.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder.
Like off the bat, Belgium and Ireland, personally.
Belgium is not winning the group. Belgium will defeat the tier 1, the seed 1, and then fuck up, and then just fucking fall over and like go 3rd in the group. It is just what's going to happen. They will draw through USA, draw them or win. There's only 2 options, of course, and they will just absolutely get demolished by Mexico or something. Yeah, this is how this team functions. They are not winning the pod.
Historically, Italy and Finland are both good, but it depends what Italy and what Finland turn up. They've been hot and cold over the last, few years. Again, with Denmark, they had a couple of rough years before the switch to WTC, but last year they were good. So if they've built on that, then they were also a very good team. Scotland are a good team, but they lost Brian, which I think does hurt them, unfortunately. But again, it comes down to what pods you get put into. If you can snatch draw against the Group 1 and then you beat Group 3 and Group 4 more than Group 1 does, then you can steal that pod.
I am going to actually give a leg up to New Zealand. Legitimately, we have screamed them. They were amazing. I think they beat us pretty confidently. Also, by the way, and I think they are well prepared. They are very motivated, and they've done great last year. And I think they are going to only be better this year. So definitely, one of the teams I would be scared to face from put 2. Second place is Scotland, because they are coming to Pyro and they will just steal all of the beautiful tech from us.
Oh, sorry, yeah. You forget they are the
vassals. They are the vassal state of Poland that has been declared for
they're the secret Poland B team.
Exactly. We love you guys, by the way. Please come again. It was great. It's great practice, remember?
Yeah.
If WTC was on the last pack, did you have any hidden tech that you can share that's not relevant moving forward?
Oh, yeah.
That's a very difficult question for me, because
it might still apply.
Exactly. And the veil, we are speaking behind the veil, or from behind the veil, but the veil is still fucking on. And from one of the things Anthony said in the main show, I think last week, and I very much agree with, people were very everybody's fucking teching, and it doesn't matter, everybody's still going to bring the same thing. It never happens. Legitimately, keeping some of your tech hidden is massive. It's huge. It's how you surprise people. It's what year after year is proving to be extremely effective. Finding out some new shit, bringing out some weird stuff, not going the Death Watch route, but the Dark Angels route, picking Orcs or Tyrannies to counter GSC, having 30 GK Terminators to blunt everything. It's so many things. And the fact is, the WTC sparks the biggest innovation in list building each year. List that people spend so much time in very concise groups cooking up weird shit that this, and testing them extensively and then testing them at the WTC proper, some of the builds that you will find at this year's WTC are going to stick around for months to come. And it's always like this. So the secrecy is still necessary, I believe, because it matters, especially for the top teams, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything that I'm confident is not going to be played after the slate and everything comes out? Unfortunately not, because everything. What I'm also going to say, because the meta was so incredibly open, there is almost no armies that we have excluded from testing. And all they need is a couple of checks. Maybe something gets nerfed, maybe something gets buffed, and it's until we know in 2 weeks, or less than 2 weeks, right? 10 days basically right now. I cannot say what we've been testing, because we might just bring it.
WC deadline, list submissions 10th of July, but everything has to be out before the 1st of July. Is that correct?
I believe the list submission is 13th, except for that, that's correct. So everything needs to be out before the 1st of July. I think the list sub is 13th. Not 10. Not 100% of it, though.
Sure.
But yeah. No further info from us, unfortunately. I'm very sorry.
Yeah, and I'm not even really part of England, so I actually don't have anything to gossip about, unfortunately.
As a follow-up to this, what is your favorite tech piece from previous years that you never got to use? Oh, that's a good one, actually.
Oh, I actually have a answer for this. It's going back a bit, but I won LGT with. Now, I'm not someone who brags, but I actually felt like I wrote this list, which was it's in 7th edition, and it was like a couple of heralds and then just some brimstones behind Aegis defense line with a comms relay, and then just loads and loads of screamer units. And nobody was using it, and I was winning quite a lot of events. And I won, obviously, LGT, which is the biggest tournament that we have in this country. Obviously, it's not the numbers that it has now. I think it was only like 200 players, but back then it was the biggest tournament we had. And then right before I was like, I've played this to death, I think I'm going to do amazing at the WTC, they swap it to 8th edition, and I ended up playing Typhus with Gene Stealer Cult, and we were both taking terrain pieces off the table. It's my last ever game at the WTC.
What the fuck is this?
They've changed since then. They used to look a lot. They used to look a lot uglier.
I don't think I have ever encountered that on the table.
So the point was, brimstones, you could basically deploy them like this in the very back corner, and you could not see the models behind it, and then you reserve your entire army, and then a comms relay would give you full rerolls because you had to roll for reserves. So turn 2 onwards, it was 4+, and then turn 3, it was like 3+. So you had a reroll to your reserves. So basically, it was I'm going to set up 60 points and then deep strike 1800.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
This shit?
Yes, that's the stuff. Those masterpieces. So the intention.
I think I have seen them as scattered terrain somewhere in my local game store.
So the intention was you were meant to make a big line, but there was nothing in the rules about saying you couldn't just stack them on top of each other. So basically, I'm not saying like you stack them this way, but you stack them like this way, so you couldn't see shit. So basically, yeah, it was fantastic. I loved it.
That's peak 7th edition. Not gonna lie.
Oh, like fortifications were just dumb. When you had, because obviously, right in 10th edition, being inside a transport or in a fortification is basically a rules black hole. You don't do anything. Whereas in 7th edition, all abilities worked out of transports. So sometimes you would buy a battle wagon because it was massive, just to give the mech the biggest 3-inch invuln bubble possible. So back then it was like there was assassins that I used to put an assassin in that list, which then went, you can't do any psychic abilities in 12 inches and then stick it out.
Yes, the Colexis. Yes. The good old the Colexis had a good run, by the way. Then at the as we reminisce at the beginning of 8th edition, there was the fucking Colexis list. The billion Colexis that screened each other and you couldn't do anything to them. That was peak or hard back then.
Yeah.
From my point, in 23, I don't think I had anything like that. But in 22nd, my first year at the WTC, I was practicing my Blood Angels so much before that event. And I was very confident they are good. And I was having some success, especially against things like the Tyranids, which were still very much prevalent, and especially against the Flyant variant, which was still the most useful. I remember bringing Sanguinor just for it to blunt one of, like, when the Flyant charged you, you could just sacrifice Sanguinor. It was an expensive trade, but it's still so worth it, because he couldn't charge anything in the list without getting heroic with Sanguinor. Then you heroic sacrifice or whatever angel sacrificed it, so he get to attack the Sanguinary. He probably dies, and then your death company just fucking boinks him to death every single time. It worked like a charm. So it was a very nice list, and I was very close to taking it. It came down to the fact that we needed something that was more stable, more defender-like, and especially table agnostic. So from my beloved Blood Angels, which actually was the army at the beginning of 9th. That was the beginning of 9th. Yeah, I think that was the beginning of 9th. I think I'm not trolling, or maybe not beginning. Whatever. That was the army which I kind of had my upbringing on. That was the army that I picked up when I started becoming better, and that was the army that I smashed every single one of the Polish national team, previous national teams, and people who were already established in the community with. So I was very excited to have the possibility of bringing them to the WTC, and then Typhus said, "Fuck you! You are taking 36 warriors. Have fun with that."
Yeah.
And then we the list got revealed for the event, and I saw Josh's list, which was exactly the fucking same as mine. Like, it was so close. I also had the Lamartis with the many death company, at least 3 company squads, so you instantly scored the secondary with the death company squad. That meant all you needed to do was trade 3 times with them, which was basically auto happening. So you scored very well on that. The list was incredibly good, and I was especially so sad to see Josh bring a list that is so close to that. But it also was definitely the right call not to bring the Blood Angels, but because we desperately needed something table agnostic and just shove in your face, I don't care what table I'm getting. And the Blood Angels desperately needed the table choice, which it didn't have. Okay. What do you think a team's Grey Knight build should lean into? More armor heavy with Redeemers and NDKs, or all Brotherhood Retainers is similar to Jack Hapter's list with 3 times 10 termies? It is very dependent on your team composition.
And terrain. Yeah.
But overall, right now, in the meta that we are living, so subject to change, I still like the NDKs so much. We brought them to an event. Leshy brought them to an event last week. He did fucking amazing. Lost only a single game against the GSC. Was extremely stable. That list slaps. So the base, I think, is bringing that.
Yeah, I personally think actually probably the better version now is the hybrid version, whereas you kind of lean more into like 5 Dread Knights, but then you still maybe take the Purifier squad, you take Purgation type squads, you maybe take Terminators, that kind of build than necessarily like the Redeemer build, which, while is way more stat checky, does run into problems with moving around tables sometimes. Redeemers are fantastic. They do a lot of damage. They're great. Fun to play with. But yeah, some kind of mix. It also depends a little bit on what terrain you have. Like, if you can get things like Plunging Fire, then Psy Cannon squads are good. If you don't have them, then just indirecting like quad flamer squads against things like Eldar are really good. Against quite a lot of stuff in the meta at the moment, it's quite good. So you can build it for teams however you kind of wanted it. For singles, not sure. I probably still prefer like a hybrid list, but I would still start with a base of probably like 5 Dread Knights.
I think 4 is the minimum.
Sure. Yeah.
3 is the minimum, but 4 is the preferable minimum, I believe.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, you can
and
just
then
take
you
the
can
3.
really tinker with it, I think. There's a lot of design space. I've seen lists from Spain that have done very well with 4 NDKs, some Termi squads, some run Drago for the flip charge on the 6, Some run the purgation squad. I think there's a lot of possibilities to tweak that list to what you are facing particularly or what your meta is. I also agree that the hybrid version is the best. Don't bring Canis, by the way. He's super
dog
fluffy.
shit.
He is
He's dog shit.
so overrated.
He looks cool, but like 2 games I did for prep with him, I was just like, he's just so squishy, which doesn't sound right, but he's just
Until he has 2-up save or something or whatever, he's not worth it. Don't
it just falls over.
The rest of the list slaps, but Canis is just not good.
Yeah, like I remember played Ironstorm. He walked over, killed a tank. I was like, cool. And then he walked over with 5 multi-melters and he died. I was like, great.
Yeah. So to sum up our arguments, probably bring hybrid list, otherwise dependent. I think the MSU can still work. Very much Matrix dependent though. All Draenei's lists are good right now. Experiment. Right now. For the next 10 days. And then stop. And experiment again with something else probably. How happy are you that all this is happening so long before list deadline? Very happy, although this is a very weird limbo that we are in. Because we've got part of what we are going to play, which is the mission part. We have the new codices, but we don't have the new points. We don't have the slate. We don't have the points for the new codexes. And currently, we don't know which missions the WTC is going to play on.
Or a terrain pack.
I think the terrain pack actually is not going to change significantly.
No, all the current deployments probably stay the same.
Yes, I think
I
think sweeping is going in, or one of the weird deployments is going to be in, and that means changing some of the tables slightly or like adjusting them. I think it's doable. So we are in this weird situation where we cannot realistically practice, which feels weird. Actually, Spears and Bins, most of the team, I did an announcement some time ago when we learned, I think a week ago, when we learned everything is just falling over its head, and the general plan is to chill out for a bit because we are going to need a lot of time and resources and energy put into the practice and preparation when everything is actually out. So I like the fact that we can slowly digest the missions, play some games on them with maybe old armies, maybe made up points or whatever, and ease into that. So the next weeks are going to be more manageable, by which I mean still absolutely murder fucked. I'm going to need a steady dosage of caffeine in my veins, I think, because oh my god, let it be August already.
For me personally, I don't give a shit. I love it because I get to watch all of you panic and scramble to try and sort everything, and it's fantastic.
The thing also is, I am going to complain how much work it is to get prepared for such an event in so little time. But as my opinion has been the same for a while, it's very subjective. We usually do well in chaos.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
So chaos is a factor that literally helps Poland, I believe. We are very good at figuring broken shit out and stuff like this, and just getting valid data in a limited amount of time.
Yeah, I think when we were discussing earlier about like who do we think is going to do well out of certain pods, it actually is a lot more up in the air where there might be pod 3s that end up in pod 1s or whatever, because it's who might adapt better to the change. I know historically Poland have been fantastic at doing last minute changes. USA have usually been very good. Teams historically like England have struggled with that. I know teams like some of the top teams struggle to change last minute. It depends what kind of players you have. Some are, when they're practiced to death, they're the best players in the world, but when change comes on the doorstep, they're not adjustable as easily. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I completely get where the opinion of we should have played the last patch is coming from. At the same time, I do care about how watchable is WTC. If we want to get this thing going, and with things like I think we are slowly. It's never going to be esports, guys. Let's not fucking get over ourselves. But I think if we would like to make the competitive 40K hobby, whatever, more mainstream, I think it's essential that we kind of not sleep with 2 months in advance to prepare for a single tournament, because nobody's going to give a shit in 2 months.
Yeah, I think you have to, if you can play. This isn't a edition change. There will probably be a lot of changes, but I think you do, like you say, you have to play the latest edition, because otherwise there's just very little viewership, because people are going, oh, it's the old edition, I'm not really interested. Players will get mixed opinions where they don't. I remember when it stayed 5th edition, when 6th edition was already out for a month, and a lot of the players at the events were like, this is shit, because
it is disheartening to play the old game where everybody's playing the new game, and that's the main concerns of ours in here. It's also the fact that you cannot go to a tournament because you will get your editions mixed up, and you cannot practice at your local RTT with your local mates because nobody would like to play the old edition or the old patch with you. It's all of those things combined. So yeah. I'd much rather this happen now than 29th.
yeah, at least hopefully there's enough time for you to actually.
There's never enough time. People will complain how they don't have enough time if you give them a year to prepare. I believe that.
Yeah, like there still would have been some people, like if it had all come out in the end of May, people would have been like, oh, it's a month before the submission. We can't have. Yeah, exactly. So, is what it is. Get good. Skill issue.
Any thoughts on the 2 most recent codexes you can share? We have done hot take, Enter the Matrix, scuffed in reviews of them, let's call them, at the beginning of the show. So go check that out with comprehensive thoughts on both of them.
Yeah, Sister's good, and GSC, we aren't GSC players. So.
GSC bad, but somebody's going to figure some shit out, and we will be very surprised. Exactly. Well, a group of death look like at WC. I think we actually did this exercise. Yeah. My pick is USA, Belgium. I think I said. What did I say? Norway and China.
Yeah, I would say
that's my pick.
Poland, Belgium.
Please don't.
Iceland.
Just don't. Iceland, actually.
Yeah, Iceland. Depends what Iceland turns up, but like Jokkel's a phenomenal player, so it is. Yeah, see where they are, and then probably one of the new teams that are going to do like a New Zealand and are not actually bomb team.
Mm-hmm.
So / wild card.
Fair. And the last question from Clownwood. Thank you for the super chat and your $5. Who is playing GSC for England this August? And why is it Nas?
I don't think we even have a GSC. Yeah, I think Nas has played some GSC, but Nas, I think other than his guard army painted in crayon, doesn't actually own many armies.
Owning, I don't own any
Chewie. Chewie has a GSC army.
Oh yeah, of course.
Maybe Tony. But that's to break that book. I don't know if there's enough time. It would
be interesting.
It would be a gamble. I think, to look at GSC. Unless you're like a Myson who can just see something straight away and put it on table.
You
again.
need
Yeah,
to
fine.
you need to fucking cook that book up.
Yeah,
Look.
yeah. Like,
Yeah,
are you
like
going to
legitimately.
get, because none of it looks obviously good. Do you have 20, 30 potential games in, I don't know how long, 10 days or whatever it is, to then decide that this is worth taking over something more reliable, I guess.
As a side note to that, do you think, I know it's like the meta is going to shit and we don't know,
Yeah.
but if the WTC happened right now, do you think there would be like a core faction setup, or would everybody take different shit? Because what I'm asking is this: let's just go with the open hand right there.
If it was right now, I
Yeah.
think there's probably 5 armies most teams take.
And does the 5 armies include Marines or specific Space Marines, for example?
I would
Because
say
I think Marines are in 100% of teams, but I think the
Yes.
variations are.
Yeah, it's arguably Ironstorm or Blood Angels.
Yeah, basically.
But you're probably going to see Necrons.
Yeah,
Like, that's a bit of
in most teams.
You're probably going to see Thousand Suns if you have a
In
Thousand
most
Suns
teams.
player. You're probably going to see Sisters because I think they're worth it in 8. You're probably going to see GK. They're a very solid list. Then you probably have Marines, and then you probably have Eldar, to be honest.
Yeah, but then there's argument
yeah.
of CSM. You haven't
Yeah.
mentioned them.
New
And there's a
CSM
lot of you can exactly
targeted.
you can start if you realize, and I've been doing that for a while now. If you realize how many armies can actually build a very competitive list that achieves something, I think the meta would have been more varied than everybody is expecting.
Sure. There are
think-
actually, if it was right now, there are probably 10 to 12 genuinely viable armies to take.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think,
which is good.
I think a lot of teams would have brought completely wildly different shit that everybody would be expecting, is what I'm going to say. And maybe GSC is still the sauce that some teams bring. I like legitimately where we are in the point where I am not expecting anything from anyone. Where I am at the point where I wouldn't be surprised to see any army, and I say any army. I would not be. I would raise my eyebrow, but I would not disregard, even for a second, if John Lennon turns up with the fucking Golden Boys again.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it's 100% legit.
Oh, we didn't even mention Orcs.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You can just throw armies, and there's they're somewhat obvious, and then you realize there's 12 obvious armies to play.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the case. Yeah. So I would not disregard any colors, and I think we are going to see diversity still. Okay, and with that last question, I think we are going to tune off. Thank you for watching this very much shorter episode than the usual of just 1.5 hours.
Thank God.
The crack thank you for being with us. Yeah, Missy is just doing her thing, as she does. Thank you for tuning in. If you've got any questions to us, catch us in the statcheck Discord. We will see you someday from behind the curtain, iron curtain of WTC secrecy. And until then, see you and goodbye.